Hello and welcome back to Witchy Ways for Modern Days. This is Brittany, and today's episode is going to be so much fun. This is the number one thing that I get asked. I get asked a lot of things all the time about various aspects of practice. This is certainly the number one thing. So I did ask some questions to the Facebook group. I asked some questions to the Patreon group. So I've collected some of those, so I have my notes, so I know exactly what you guys are actually wanting to hear from me regarding the subject. So we're going to dive in. It's going to be an interesting one, and yeah, we'll see. So today's episode is about connection to deity. What is a deity? Okay, so a deity is a god or a goddess that is considered to be sacred and worthy of some type of worship due to their authority over a certain thing. Say, for example, like Aphrodite with love. Say, for example, you've got Bridget with healing, and all of these different ones that you can kind of choose from, pick and choose, the gods, the goddesses that you connect with. Those are going to be the deities that you can potentially work with, So, whether you are new to deity work or you just might be feeling a little bit unsure about how you're supposed to start a relationship, how you need to be building communication, I'm going to try to walk you through it in a very grounded, centered way. If you have further questions or something I say isn't clear enough, please let me know and I can address it in a future episode. All right, so first things first. When it comes to connecting to a deity, the first thing that you have to be aware of, the thing that you have to remember all the time, keep it in the front of your mind, is that this is about a relationship. This is not a performance. You don't need to have this massive, giant altar associated with this deity. You don't have to say the perfect prayer, write the perfect prayer. You don't have to do it in Latin. You don't have to do it in Greek. Like, you don't have to do these things that seem like you should, but it's very performative, right? We are mimicking when we do that. So connection with deity in the 21st century, in 2025, is very different from how connection to deity was when these deities were originally worshipped. So all you need to do to work with the deity is to remember three things. Go with intention, connect to them with respect, and authenticity. That's what you want to do. All right, so we're going to do step number one. So step number one, when you are getting into deity work, do your research. Please do your research. Start by learning about the deity that you are drawn to. Now, it could be that you're not particularly drawn to any of them. If you don't feel a pull to any in particular, what I would recommend, if you don't get an energy read or anything and you're trying to do it by yourself, what I would recommend is you can even Google, like, the Greek mythology pantheon. You can Google Roman, Egyptian, whichever one you think might be cooler, I guess, in your opinion. Google that. And then type in their most worshipped, their most highly worshipped deities. It might be that a name sticks out to you a bit more than the others. It might be that whatever their dominion is over, like a healing deity, maybe you're more attracted to a healing deity than a god of the forest. So kind of use your intuition the best that you possibly can to discern which way you want to go. So let's say, for example, we've chosen our deity. So got our deity. You're going to look up, you're going to read in books, multiple books. You need multiple sources for deity worship. Don't listen to one source in particular. It's fantastic to listen to people that seem to know what they're talking about, But there are many different interpretations, especially of mythology. So many things that are slightly different from each other. So you have to just discern to the best of your ability. So multiple sources, books, podcasts, audio. It could be television. It could be a documentary. Whatever you need to look through, and how as much as you can possibly pour into, because there are going to be some deities that are going to be much harder to research than others. They were not as commonly worshipped, or the mythology behind their story has kind of been eroded over time. It didn't really translate or travel down from person to person. So do the best that you can do. I understand that might be very little that you can do and understand about a certain deity, but you owe it to yourself and you owe it to that god or goddess to learn as much as possible. So make sure that you've done your research. You want to know their mythology, their stories. Some of the stories are going to be conflicting. That's okay. Make sure you know both sides. You want to know what symbols that deity prefers. What do they rule over? They could be ruling over love, war, healing. It could be a creative deity. It could be a sex deity. This helps you to understand their energy and what type of dynamic you're going to ultimately have with them and what they can bring to and add to your life. For example, if you are feeling a pull towards, let's say Bridget, right? Let's say Bridget. It could be because you're trying to start, like, you step into your own creative aspect, sensuality aspect, or healing maternal. And then if you're drawn to Hecate, maybe you might be going through a large life transition. You feel at a crossroads, and you really do need guidance. And whatever one works for you, whichever one seems to call the loudest to you, is what I would start with, right? Baby steps. We're going to start with one god or goddess at a time. Don't overthink it. Don't make it everything that you are. Like, for example, don't make researching and worshiping a deity your life. Yes, it will become a chunk of your life. It will. Absolutely. If you're serious about it, it will become a chunk of your life. Don't let it be all that you have. Okay? Just a piece of advice. Step 2, fairly simple. You're going to set your intention. What are you actually hoping to gain from this relationship? What are you looking for? Are you looking for guidance? Are you looking for strength? Are you looking for peace within yourself due to security with a higher figure? You don't have to have some super dramatic reason for it. Just be honest with yourself why you feel called to that one, and the energy that you are trying to pull back into you. Deities respond to authenticity more than anything else. As long as you are being honest with them and yourself, they tend to like that. They tend to like that, and there's usually no issue. You don't want an issue. So step 3, you are going to create a simple space. Now, keep in mind, we will be doing at least one episode about altars, and that one is going to be all of the podcasts are video. The video is available on the paid Patreon, but if you are interested in the altars, like how to set up an altar, what they can look like, that is going to be one that you might want to consider having for video purposes. But that is coming. So, side note. So step 3, create a simple space. You don't need a picture-perfect, Pinterest-worthy altar. Okay? They are beautiful. They are gorgeous. You don't need that, though. Okay? A lot of that is, like I said earlier, performance. It is performance. It is not authentic a lot of the time. So a small shelf will work. Even like a little corner of a desk works fine. That works perfectly. Okay. You don't have to have this super large setup, especially when you are beginning. You can set out a candle, you can have a crystal, maybe like a little thing of like flowers, like a little vase, especially if it's someone like, let's say Aphrodite, let's say it's someone like Freya. Flowers, if it's someone like Artemis, you could even put like just tree bark, pieces of tree bark in a corner, put a candle next to it. There's your starter altar for Artemis. It is not about what you're offering to the deity. It is about the meaning behind it. It is about the intention. They respond to your intention much more than they respond to you trying to make everything aesthetically pleasing. So step 4. Now this is like one of the hardest parts for people. Step 4 is reaching out. It's reaching out. It is connection, establishing connection to a deity. So this is where people get stuck. I have a lot of questions, and we're going to clarify those in a second, about respecting deities and the language that we use with them. All I'm going to say right now, because I will be touching on this in just a bit, most deities don't demand formal language or emotional, flowery speeches. You need to just be yourself. Be yourself, sound like yourself. They do tend to prefer a more relaxed, comfortable tone, like you're speaking to a friend. As long as you're being genuine and respectful, you should be good. There should be no issue as long as you're being respectful. You can be playful, you can be whatever. As long as the intention is pure, they're fine. I'm really racking my brain right now to think about who would not be fine. No, because as long as you're connecting to a certain deity and they are seemingly interested in connecting to you, they will respond to authenticity. Again, not performance. Step 5, listen. So once you have reached out to a deity, you have spoken to a deity, tried to open your energy to them, give it some time. They may not respond immediately. They rarely respond immediately. They usually take a little bit. It could be a few hours. It could be a few days. It could be up to a few weeks, depending on how stubborn, headstrong, and loud the particular deity that you are trying to connect with is. So pay attention to signs that you might start noticing. You might start noticing things in your dreams. It might be a visitation. It might be like just little signs, like all of a sudden you'll have a dream. You've reached out to Hecate, and then the week after, you have a dream all about trying to go through your front door, but none of the 1,000 keys on your key ring work. That is very, very specific and kind of a weird dream. That is 100% due to that key symbology, a Hecate sign. So just pay attention, because if you're not paying attention to, oh, well, that was just a weird dream, shrug it off, right? If you're not paying attention to it, you might miss those signs. That would be totally a sign from Hecate, and it might be one that you would miss. Reasonably so. Maybe you are going to start seeing synchronicities in your life. You might start to have random thoughts that don't feel entirely like your thoughts. It's not like reading minds. It doesn't feel like reading minds, but you might have like a sudden urge to go stand outside beneath a tree. And you are one of those people, like me, admittedly, one of those people who would rather be in the air conditioner, right? But then you all of a sudden get this random urge to go outside by a tree. And then 4 days prior, you had reached out to Artemis because you felt possibly drawn to Artemis. That is a sign. That's a sign. These random impulsive thoughts, these little thoughts that kind of start in the front and then they weasel their way all around until that's all you kind of think about and it's repetitive in your head. Those are typically not even our thoughts. They are our instincts. They're instincts, but they're also energy shifts from the deity. Maybe you're going to start seeing a certain animal around you a lot, certain animals that are associated with deities. Since I'm talking about Artemis, if you start seeing deer, and say, for example, you don't live in the country. You don't live in the country. You don't see deer all the time. You're not you are not an aspiring Disney princess like I am with the deer that we have over here. But you start seeing deer and you live in the city. Come on. That is a surefire sign. That's so blatant. It's kind of funny, actually. It could be. It definitely could be a sign. Just pay attention to those things. It also could be a song. So if you are a person who listens to songs like all the time, like I constantly have music going on in an earbud all the time. Let's say you're zoning out, you're doing something, and then your brain kind of clicks back in and hears the lyric that's currently playing. It could be something very, very specific that could be a little nudge. Let's say, I don't know what that song is. Every little thing is going to be all right. Let's say you haven't been listening this whole time and all you hear as soon as your brain kind of clicks into that music, hey, everything is going to be all right. And that's been something that's been weighing on you, and that's been something that you were hoping to get clarity on from a deity, from a certain deity. Those are nudges. Those are communications. We love communications. There's yes, you want that. You so want that. So at the beginning, when deities are reaching out to you, they do tend to be subtle. Not so much like my deer in the city metaphor, but I do really like that one. And if that happens to anyone, please let me know, because that, honestly, I don't know why the thought of Artemis sending deer into the city makes my heart warm, but it does. Sorry, I will continue on. We're not going to talk about that because that means it's been a long week and Brittany's losing it a bit. That's what that sounds like. Okay. All right. Anyway. So deities tend to be subtle at first. You just have to be open to their signs, open to what they might be trying to send to you, what they might be using as communication tools. Next up, step 6, you are going to offer devotion. So you don't have to light a candle every single day. You don't have to refresh your offerings every 24 hours. You don't need to do that. People have busy lives. Again, it is 2025. We have busy lives. Checking in with that deity once a week, leaving a small offering and leaving it there for a week, or saying just like a quick little prayer or thank you while you're doing a morning walk. Those all count as devotion. Okay? What matters is the consistency. So you'd at least want to do it ideally once a week. Preferably more, but once a week is fine. We're busy people. Humans are so busy, especially right now. Like, you don't have to do this every day. Don't let anybody guilt you or make you think that you are somehow lesser than, or you're not as devoted because you haven't looked at your Hecate altar in 3 days versus someone who looks at it morning, noon, and night. There is no reason that you need to be doing that. You do what works for you. You are the captain of your own ship. We are definitely not listening to other people. No. So what matters is the consistency and the intention behind your connections. Be that frequent, large, or small, and maybe not as frequent. And then step 7, trust in the process. Sometimes a deity will not respond to you. You will not receive any signs, any even hints of communication. That's okay. All right. It could be that it's not the right time for you to work with that deity. It could mean that it's not the right fit. It's not rejection. It is a redirection if you are kind of pushed away from the deity that you originally thought you wanted to work with, wanted to be connected to. It's not rejection. This is a simple redirection of energy, trying to push you to the deity that you actually need to be addressing. Okay? They do, if a deity is like, oh, I got this one, it is not quite the right fit, she could do better with XYZ, they will kind of pass it along. They're going to pass the baton to which deity is going to be the most useful and helpful for you. Okay? Trust that they are trying to look out for your best interest. So another guide might be waiting for you, and then they get handed you by this deity that you were previously praying to. They may have been waiting for you, and then as soon as you start to feel their energy, that energy, it clicks like, oh, no, wait a minute, this works. I had no idea I wanted to even consider talking, worshiping, whatever, with you. But something's clicking, right? Trust your intuition. Your intuition will very, 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 very rarely steer you wrong. It is not, the relationship is not something that you're going to want to rush. You're going to let it unfold naturally. Know that divine timing, the term divine timing, it's real. It's truthful. Let the divine do what it has to do in order to make sure that you are living your best, your most fruitful, your most authentic life that is going to serve you in the long run, that is going to serve, benefit, heal, elevate your soul, your energy. So this is a very beginner's guide. This is the beginner's guide to working with deity, keeping with deity. So reminders, we're going to keep it simple. Okay? Keep it simple, keep it honest. Most importantly, I want you to make sure that you let it feel personal and you let that connection feel sacred, because it is sacred. And there is absolutely no right way to do this. Do what fits, what feels right to you. You can absolutely go by a guide if that makes you feel a little bit better. You can go by these steps when you're just beginning. Just listen to what your gut says. Again, very rarely is it going to be wrong. It will put off alarm bells for something on purpose, even if you have no idea at the time what's going on. So, yeah, do it your way. Do it your way. Now, I do have several more questions that I want to get into with the deity work, but I don't have that much time to go into them. So I will start one. I'll start with a question, and then could probably continue and finish it next week in the next week's episode, as well as add some additional questions onto that one. So let's kind of piece this one together. So I got a question from Heather. Now, Heather asked, she had a very long thing actually, but basically what she said is, I know how to converse and communicate with house spirits, but I am at a loss with deity. I feel like they should have more respect than just me calling out, hey Bridget, girl, I need your guidance. Am I right? Am I wrong? I have offerings set out. I have tried to be respectful, but I don't feel like I've had any success, unless that's what the vibrations are. And she was referring to vibrations she had previously told me she was feeling around her. You are definitely not alone in feeling this way. Many people feel extremely unsure when they are reaching out to deities, especially if they're already used to working with spirits in different ways. Household spirits, whether they're working with forest spirits. Honestly, most deities do not require rigid formality. They don't need grand gestures. In fact, many of them thrive in connections, in relationships with practitioners that feel genuine, that feel relaxed and respectful in an authentic way. Okay, so it's a very common misconception that you have to speak in a very formal tone, or you have to use ceremonial language every time that you reach out. There are some deities that do love that structure, but they don't require it. But there are others who actually really prefer a more casual, down-to-earth, modern 2025 connection. Think of it like talking to like a wise elder, crone energy, possibly even just like mentor or a friend that you really, really trust. You don't have to say, "Dearest Lady Bridget of the eternal flame," every time you speak to her. Sometimes it could be, "Hey, Bridget, I could really use your help with this." It is the right tone, especially if it is coming from the heart. If it is coming from the heart and coming from a genuine place, and you're not using, foul language, don't do that. It's fine. It's fine. They prefer you being yourself rather than, like I said earlier, performance. They can suss out performance in 3 seconds, and you do not want to be called out by a deity for basically pretending, for acting. So what matters more than anything, again, is the authenticity, is your intention behind your tone, behind your communication. If your offerings to them are sincere, your tone is respectful with spirit, and your heart and spirit soul is open to whatever communication they want to give you, that is called sacred communication. That is correct. Deities they're incredibly attuned to energy. They are energy, but so are we. But they're incredibly attuned to it, to the point where they are able to pick up on our honesty, our vulnerability, and any sort of, even like the tiniest hint of negative or unsure vibes that you are bringing to the space. They notice that way more than how proper your wording was when you called them, or how beautiful and grand this candle setup was. Again, those things, awesome. You can do them if you would like. If you're comfortable doing that, I think that's fantastic, but it is definitely not necessary. And then the vibrations. I did want to actually touch on this, because the vibrations that were mentioned, I believe it was said that it was near the body. It could have been actually in body. Either way, that could very well be a form of communication. Not all divine responses from deity are loud. Not all of them are dramatic. Sometimes they come through very subtle shifts in energy, very tiny intuitive nudges. Again, like thoughts or feelings that don't necessarily feel like they belong to you all of a sudden. It could be a warmth or a cooling of a room, a physical temperature change that is not common wherever you are, or just a gentle emotional pull. I feel something. I feel so connected to Medusa. I don't know why. That pull is a form of reaching out. That is a form of her reaching back. Because if you have such a strong feeling, emotion towards one particular deity, that's a deity that you will work with, 100%. If you feel that certain and that strongly about one, you will at one point be working with them, or at least have the capability to work with them, the availability. So that's not going to happen to you unless it is meant for you, or at least the option is open to you. So just tune into yourself. The more you start to listen to your intuition, the more you will start to notice weird signs like that. Okay? Weird signs can be, there's so many different things. We'll have to talk about energy signs at a certain point. Energy shifts and signals, because I feel like that would be an incredibly interesting episode. So trust yourself. right? You're going to trust yourself, keep showing up, keep doing what you're doing. Don't be afraid to allow your personality, your true personality, to show. Deities love that. You're building a relationship. You're building communication. You are not going to the DMV. You are not applying for a job. You don't have to be on your best behavior. So please keep that in mind. Please, please. It's very important that you do, because it's going to be so much easier and so much more comfortable for you if you let go of any preconceived notions about what you were supposed to be doing. Okay, how you're supposed to be. If you enjoyed this episode, please do not forget to follow. So the podcast is live on Apple Podcasts. It's live on Spotify. The Patreon is up, Witchy Ways for Modern Days. If you would like to become a paid Patreon subscriber, I would very much appreciate it. It is not necessary, but we do really appreciate the support so that I can at least continue with the equipment that is needed for this. So if you have had any sort of like communication with a deity that just is weird, it's weird or confusing, or even something that was absolutely beautiful, please let me know. Please let me know in any of those spaces. And please follow us, subscribe. We will be back next week, still talking about deities. I still have some questions that are quite involved. And then I will still leave the chat open if anybody has additional questions regarding deity. We're going to talk a lot about gods and goddesses in this thing. So buckle up, Buttercup. Oh God, okay. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful week. I appreciate you so much. Blessed be. Take care.